Hey, I'm Jackson, 32, and my one-year marriage went from picture-perfect Instagram couple to I walked out of my in-laws' dining room like a man escaping a hostage situation. In under 10 seconds. The disaster didn't start that night, it started months earlier. I just didn't realize I was living with someone who saw marriage the same way people see trial memberships: optional, flexible, and probably cancelable within 30 days. Back when Michaela and I first got married, everything was suspiciously peaceful. Too peaceful. Like the kind of peaceful where you start wondering if there's a glitch in the matrix, or if your spouse is secretly medicating the air vents. We worked, ate dinner, argued about Chinese versus pizza, made up over ice cream, binged shows, repeated. Normal. Predictable. Comfortable. And then, the weird started creeping in. First sign? The phone. Suddenly, she was treating her notifications like national security secrets. Phone face down. Screen dimmed. Leaving the room to check something real quick. If the CIA hired her, she'd be Employee of the Month. Next came the buffering moments. We'd be eating dinner, and I'd be mid-story about a busted truck at the shop when she'd stare at the wall like she was receiving secret transmissions from another dimension. You okay? Just tired. No, tired people blink. Tired people yawn. Tired people don't disconnect from reality like a Wi-Fi signal during a storm. Then, the questions started. Random ones. The kind you don't expect from a woman who cried during our wedding vows. You know, a lot of couples are trying open relationships now. What do you think about emotional freedom between married people? Do you believe humans are meant to be monogamous? Could a 3-person relationship ever really work? Ma'am. We were folding towels. I'd respond with something like, no. Not my thing. Why are you asking me this during breakfast? And my personal favorite. Michaela, if you want to explore, go explore the laundry I just washed. But she kept dropping hints, like she was sending out philosophical smoke signals to justify a decision she'd already made. Then, she started acting extra nice. Too nice. Made you breakfast and smiled about it. Nice. That's how you know trouble's coming. A woman only gets that nice when she bought something expensive, broke something important, or is planning something stupid. Spoiler, it was the third one. Because every day, she slipped in new terms. Freedom. Experience. Growth. My truth. She said freedom 9 times in 1 week. I counted. Then came the articles. The videos. The reels. The podcasts. All about open marriages, polyamory, emotional liberation, releasing jealousy, and unlearning monogamy. At one point she played a podcast where some dude said, if you truly love someone, you set them free. I told her, if you truly love someone, you don't need a TED Talk to justify cheating. She didn't like that. But she didn't stop either. Then came the night she finally pitched it for real. And that conversation was the beginning of the end. The night she finally said the quiet part out loud was a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic. No candles, no tension, no thunderstorm, just me, the couch, a half-warm beer, and the game on TV. Michaela walked in with that we need to talk stance, arms crossed, shoulders stiff, like she was about to fire me from a job I didn't know I had. Jackson, she said, voice rehearsed. We should talk about something important. Let me guess, I said without looking away from the screen. We're moving to a commune. No, she said, ignoring my joke like it personally offended her. I just think we should try something open. I paused the game so I could give her the proper eyebrow raise. Define open. Just not so exclusive, she said, brightening like she'd solved world peace. A trial, you know? Experience life without pressure. Still committed emotionally, of course. I nodded slowly. So emotionally committed, physically not so much. Exactly, she said like she just passed the test. Yeah, no, I said. If that's what you're looking for, it's not going to be with me. The way her face froze, Pure disbelief. Like I'd ruined the plot twist she spent 6 weeks building toward. You're so closed-minded sometimes, she said. I'm married, I replied. Not signing up for a group project. She crossed her arms tighter. You're controlling. You don't even want to talk about it. Talk about what? I asked. You sleeping with someone else and calling it personal growth? No thanks. That's not what I mean, she snapped. You don't understand how relationships evolve. Michaela, I said, if you want evolution, go read Darwin. Marriage is not a science fair. That hit a nerve so fast she blinked like she got pepper sprayed by reality. She tried again, softer now, like if she lowered her voice the idea would magically make sense. I'm not saying I don't love you. I just think we should explore. I held up a hand. Hold on, Dora the Explorer. You don't go exploring when you're married. You build. If you want to sightsee, you can do it single. Her jaw dropped. You'd end the marriage over this? She asked, stunned. Yes, I said calmly. I'd rather be alone than shared. That's when she panicked, real panic, the kind that comes from realizing the script isn't going according to plan. Okay, forget I said anything, she said quickly. I didn't mean it like that. Just ignore it. Too late, I said. You said it? She cried. Of course she cried. The soft, fragile tears designed to reset the conversation. Jackson, please. I won't bring it up again. I nodded, unpaused the game, and said, Good. Because I meant what I said. And for a few weeks, things went back to normal. Or at least she pretended they did. She made dinner. She laughed at my jokes. She acted like the same person I married. But people don't ask questions like that. That wasn't curiosity. That was a confession wearing a disguise. I didn't snap. I didn't accuse. I didn't even snoop through her phone. I just watched. And waited. Because when someone starts rehearsing a speech about freedom, they're not practicing for your benefit. They're practicing for someone else. And that someone else? Yeah. I was about to meet him, just not the way she expected. The night everything detonated wasn't at home. It wasn't during a fight. It wasn't even private. It was at her parents' dinner table. Her mom, Carol, had set the place like she was prepping for a magazine shoot, linen napkins centerpiece, the whole Martha Stewart starter pack. Her dad, Dennis, sat at the head like always, quiet but observant, the human lie detector who could read a person faster than he could butter a roll. We were halfway through roast chicken when Carol asked the casual, harmless mom question. So, how are you two doing? 1 year already? I smiled. We're doing good. Busy but good. Michaela cut me off. No hesitation. No warning. Just slammed her foot on the nuclear launch button. Actually, we've been talking about opening our marriage. Forks froze. Carol blinked like she was trying to restart her internal software. Dennis stared at her like she'd spoken in Morse code. I just sat there. Calm. Quiet. Already done. That's your announcement, I said. Not mine. She whipped her head toward me. What do you mean? I mean, I said, placing my napkin down, you can have your open relationship, Michaela. And I'll have my single life. Carol gasped. Dennis stopped chewing. Michaela went pale. Jackson, don't. Carol, I said politely. Dinner was great. Dennis, good to see you, man. And I stood up. Straightened my shirt. Walked out of that dining room like a man who just realized the building wasn't worth saving from the fire. No yelling. No scene. No drama. Just the cleanest exit I've ever made. Behind me, Michaela sputtered something about communication and misunderstanding and not like that, but I was already at the front door. When I got into my truck, I sat for a moment, hands on the wheel, staring at my own reflection in the windshield. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel heartbroken. I just felt done. She'd wanted freedom. Congratulations to her. She just officially got it. I didn't drive home. I just drove. Nowhere. Everywhere. Letting the road tell me where to go. My phone buzzed nonstop. Texts, calls, voice messages, all from her, all ignored. 30 minutes into my silent drive, my phone buzzed again. I almost dismissed it, until I saw the name. Laura. Her best friend. A woman who never inserted herself into drama. A woman who didn't sugarcoat. A woman who wasn't a fan of Michaela's enlightenment phase. Her message popped up. Hey. I heard what happened at dinner. Are you okay? I stared at the screen, because of all people, she shouldn't have known yet. Carol must have told her. Then another message came in, immediately after. There's something you need to know. And that was the moment I felt it, that drop in my stomach, that internal warning siren that says, here it comes. The real story. The part she didn't tell you. I pulled into an empty parking lot behind a closed hardware store. Killed the engine. Sat in the dark with only the glow of my phone lighting up the cab of my truck. Laura's message sat there like a loaded gun. There's something you need to know. I typed back. What happened? No typing bubbles. No instant reply. Just silence long enough for me to feel the anger I'd been suppressing start crawling up my spine. Then finally. Not over text. Can we meet? Tonight. I wasn't about to meet Michaela's best friend in some sketchy parking lot to talk about my marriage like this was an undercover sting operation, so I offered a diner near the lake. Neutral ground. Public. Cheap coffee. No drama. 10 minutes, she replied. I got there in 7. She was already inside, sitting in a booth by the window, hands wrapped around a glass of water like she needed something to hold onto. No pity face. No rehearsed sympathy. Just tension. You look like someone canceled your birthday, she said as I sat down. That obvious? You walked out of her parents' house. That's not nothing. Then tell me why you asked to meet, I said. Straight, no warm-up. She exhaled. Michaela's been seeing someone. I didn't react. Didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. Because deep down, I already knew. Laura continued, voice low. A guy from her work. Dylan. It's been going on for weeks. She tried to be sneaky about it, but she's not good at sneaky. I leaned back, arms crossed. Defiant seeing. Laura slid her phone across the table, screen already unlocked to a gallery. Texts. Late-night selfies. Messages that didn't even bother being vague. Dates and times matching the exact nights Michaela was working late, or feeling emotionally disconnected. I scrolled through them calmly, like I was reading store coupons. Well, I finally said, that explains the sudden craving for emotional freedom. Laura gave a small, frustrated laugh. I told her not to bring it up at dinner. She said, word for word, Jackson will be open to it if I explain it right. Yeah, I said. She needed a new dictionary for that. Laura frowned. I'm sorry, Jackson. I really am. I didn't want to get involved, but she's been lying to everyone. Even tried telling me you were the reason she felt trapped. I snorted. She's got a bright future in fiction writing. You okay? Laura asked carefully. I nodded. I'm fine. This just confirms I'm not crazy. And honestly, I'm relieved. It's easier walking away when the trash takes itself out. That made her laugh, a real laugh, not a pity one. We finished dinner talking like actual adults. No drama. No crying. Just clarity. She paid. I tried to argue. She didn't let me. You didn't deserve this, she said as we walked outside. You're one of the good ones. Maybe, I said. But even the good ones get reality checks. We said goodnight. I drove home feeling lighter. Not happy. Not sad. Just very, very done. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I slept with actual peace. But peace doesn't last long when your soon-to-be ex-wife is allergic to accountability. Because the next morning, she showed up. And she didn't come quietly. The next morning started perfectly normal. Coffee. Work boots on. Keys in hand. A calm mind, the kind you only get after cutting loose the source of your misery. I opened the front door and nearly tripped over Michaela sitting on the porch in pajama pants and a hoodie, mascara smeared, hair a full-blown psychology textbook warning sign. She jumped up like she'd been waiting for hours. Jackson, wait, please don't go. I sighed. Morning to you, too. You blocked me, she said, voice cracking like she'd been rehearsing her heartbreak in the mirror. Yes, I said. On purpose. Why? She demanded, wide-eyed. Because I don't want to talk to you. She flinched like I slapped her with a dictionary. Can we just go inside? Talk like adults? Nope, I said, locking the door behind me. Talking is what got us here. Silence works better. She grabbed my arm. Jackson, don't walk away from me. I pulled my arm back gently but firmly, the kind of move you use on someone who might bite. You walked away first, I said. You just thought you could walk back whenever the fun ended. Her eyes filled instantly, weaponized tears. You're being cruel. No, I said calmly. I'm being consistent. She shook her head violently. You don't understand. I made a mistake. A huge one. But we can fix it. I'll fix everything. You can't fix a marriage you set on fire and then roasted marshmallows over. You're not even giving me a chance. Michaela, you had your chance. You traded it for Dylan. She froze. I don't know what Laura told you. Laura showed me messages. I interrupted. Pictures. Timestamps. Conversations. I know exactly what you and Dylan were doing. Her mouth fell open. She showed you what? Enough, I said. Sitcom's over. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed dramatically, the kind of crying that had an echo. You don't get it. Dylan dumped me. I blinked. And this is my problem, how? She stomped her foot. Actually stomped. He said I'm too much drama. Me? Smartest thing the guys said? I muttered. She gasped. Don't joke right now. I'm not joking. I genuinely agree with him. I hate you, she spit. Cool, I replied. Makes divorce cleaner. She started pacing back and forth on the porch like a malfunctioning Roomba. I'm done with him, she said suddenly. Completely. I choose you. I stared at her. That's not a romantic speech, Michaela. That's a clearance sale. Doesn't it mean anything that I'm choosing you over him? It means you got rejected, I said. And I'm your backup plan. The wind died. The street went silent. Even the birds paused. Her face twisted from heartbreak to rage. You're heartless. No. I'm healed. You just don't like the side effects. You're going to regret this. She threatened. Nope, I said. Because I don't regret leaving a burning building. I wasn't cheating. She screamed. You were. You just wanted to cheat with permission. Her mouth opened and closed like she was buffering. Jackson, I love you. I can change. Look, I said, unlocking my truck. I don't care what you do from now on. You want to rediscover yourself? Meditate on a mountain? Date the cast of a gym? Go for it. But not as my wife. So that's it, she whispered. That was at the moment you opened your mouth at dinner. She stood there shaking, staring at me like I had killed her goldfish on live TV. You can't just leave, she managed. I stepped into the truck. Michaela, I already did. She slammed her hand on the window as I closed the door. You're such a jerk. That's fine, I said through the glass. Be sure to tell Dylan. Her scream was pure frustration, the kind you let out when the last domino falls and you realize you knocked them over yourself. I drove away slow, calm, steady. her figure shrinking in the rearview mirror. By the time I got to work, Mark took one look at me and said, "You look like someone finally took the trash out." "Yeah," I said. "And it wasn't recycling. But here's the thing. Michaela wasn't done. Not even close. And her next move? It was the craziest one yet. Michaela didn't fall apart quietly. Oh no, she went down swinging like a raccoon in a dumpster fire. I had barely clocked out that afternoon when my receptionist poked her head into the garage. Jackson? You might want to come up front." I already knew. I walked out and there she was, Michaela, standing in front of my shop like an emotional tornado wearing sunglasses. And right next to her? A giant cardboard sign. But this time, she'd upgraded. It wasn't handwritten anymore. She had printed it. In bold, dramatic font. "Jackson, love is worth fighting for." Under it, in smaller letters, "Please talk to me." I stood there staring at the sign like it had personally offended me. "Ariel Bold?" I said. She whipped off her sunglasses like she was in a soap opera. "You're mocking me?" "I mean, Ariel Bold?" I repeated. "Not even Helvetica? No design sense at all?" "Oh my God! Jackson!" she shrieked. The guys in the shop were watching through the windows like it was Super Bowl halftime. Someone already had popcorn. She marched toward me, waving the sign like it was a sacred scroll. "You can't ignore me forever." "I can," I said. "And I'm currently doing a great job." "You served me divorce papers." "At work." "Where else?" "Costco?" "You ruined my life." "No," I said calmly. "You confused marriage vows with a multi-user login system." She threw the sign on the ground and went full meltdown, crying, yelling, pacing, pointing at the sky like she was appealing her case to God. Security came again. Same officer as last time. He looked at her. Then at me. Then back at her. "Ma'am, we talked about this. I just want to talk to my husband." The officer looked at me. "Is that still accurate?" I shrugged. "She's my ex-wife in progress." "That was when it happened." The officer asked the routine question. "Do you want to press charges?" Before I could answer, Michaela yelled. "No. He loves me." I said. "No. I don't." The officer nodded slowly, like he was mentally adding that to the report. "I'm just trying to save what we had," she sobbed. "What we had," I said, "was monogamy. What you wanted was multiplayer." She screamed. Loud enough to scare birds out of the trees. Security escorted her off property again. As she got in her car, she leaned out the window and yelled, "You're going to regret losing me." I tapped my chin thoughtfully. Still waiting. She peeled out, tires screeching like a dying violin. And just like that, silence returned. Real silence. The kind that feels like a room finally aired out. That evening I went home, to my new house. Smaller. Neat. Peaceful. The kind of place where the quiet doesn't feel like tension, it feels like freedom. 2 days later, I met Laura again. For coffee. Not a date. Not a rebound. Just two people who survived the same storm and could actually have a conversation without someone screaming about energy bonds. We talked. We laughed. We didn't force anything. It was easy. When we left the cafe, she looked at me and said, "You really handled all this with grace." "I handled it with caffeine," I corrected. "But I appreciate the compliment." She smiled. "I think you're going to be fine, Jackson." "I know," I said. "And that's new." "Michaela?" She faded out of town like a rumor. Some people said she moved states. Some said she tried patching things up with Dylan and got rejected again. Some said she was finding herself. Good. She needed to. Preferably somewhere far away with no cell reception. The divorce finalized cleanly. No alimony. No drama. No claims. Just signatures and peace. Actual peace. Not the kind with tears and TED Talk excuses. The kind you earn. The kind you keep. The kind you don't share. For months afterward, I slept better, breathed easier, worked harder, laughed more. Because real freedom doesn't come from open relationships. It comes from walking away from someone who confuses commitment with curiosity. And as for me, I didn't just walk away. I closed the door, locked it, and built a better one.